Hello and welcome to Leadership Talks. I'm your host, Lars Friedrich, presented to you. Today we talk about the world of digital transformation from offline to online and how companies can create competitive advantages in Vietnam, in ASEAN and beyond. And we have a very special guest today. We have TIionN here. He's the Managing Director of LaughSoft Vietnam. LaughSoft is a global digital strategy and software engineering company. We'll learn more about what they do, how they do it, and how everything becomes software-defined. Welcome to the show.
Thank you for inviting me. Hi, it's great to be here with Lars today.
So you've been with LaughSoft 10 years. You have over 20 years in the industry. As you said, you actually started as an engineer, so you are a coder at heart.
Yeah.
And now your company leads massive digital transformation projects. Digital transformation is such an abstract term, so maybe we can get a little bit of light. What does it actually mean? We know that the Vietnamese government supports digital transformation. We know that the pandemic forced everybody to transform if they were ready or not. What's your take on the digitalization or digital transformation process in Vietnam, and what does it actually mean?
In the last couple of years, especially after the COVID, right? So from the LaughSoft side, we receive increasing number of requests from our customer in the ASEAN region for digital modernization, digital transformation. So we saw, especially in Vietnam, we see more requests with deploying digital banking. So with implement the automation software system, debt collection, for example, or loan management workflow. Or we have the request from automotive manufacturer to integrate the modern software technologies into the car. Or we even see the request to us to implement, let's say, the driving simulation system for driving learner. Such kind of requests we didn't see before. It means that now the business in Vietnam, they are investing more and more into the digital transformation. They invest more to the digital technology. And if I get into the markets, we can see the significant change in the market this day. So we can easily see the digital banking, e-wallets, online payment. We can see e-commerce platform. Such kind of thing is amazing thing. It's showing that Vietnam is moving fast on the digital transformation. Yeah.
Isn't it then sometimes easier if you are newcomer in many ways because you don't have all that legacy? Like banks are normally have that massive issue of legacy systems. Or car manufacturers, traditional car manufacturers, they are built by engineers that want to wield metal together, strap some engines in, and suddenly the software guys come. So do you think, number one, is it sometimes easier to be a new company because you can build from the ground up a completely new business kind of model? And second, for companies that have to go through transformation, not as a start, where does then the resistance come from? And again, I'm looking into automotive guys. The engineers were kings, and they don't want to pass the crown to the software developers.
The challenge is different. So when you are a newcomer, you lack of experience, right? But when you are already mature with your core business in, 10 years, a few 10 years, and you need to transform to more software-driven organization. So it means that, resistance is very different, right? So from one point, the people have less awareness, don't know. So they hesitate to do the change, right? It's because they think that it could be the kind of high investment. And when they, even like the company deploy the software system and, ask people to adopt that technologies, they may have, they show the resistance because they are difficult to adapt with that new technology.
So a lot of times we talk about what are the benefits of digital transformation. There are cost savings, efficiency, data collection, insights, all of that. But there's also a lot of resistance to change. Where do you see comes the most resistance? Is it the customers? Is it the employees? Is it the vendors? And how to overcome that?
From my experience, my view, the resistance can come from, business leader to the employee rather than the supplier, the partner. Because at the first stage of the digitalization, many business leaders, they may see the investment to the digital agenda is high, is expensive, but the outcome is not clear in terms of return of the investment. So why there is such concern from business leader? Because many business leader, they may rely on the IT manager on the IT side to develop the digital strategy, digital plan. And during the analysis of the technology disruption, selecting the solution, they may choose the solution which is quite expensive because it's important to choose the right solution which can be utilized by the people and create the efficiency. Some solution may be overcomplicated and it's more expensive. So nowadays, there are different offers from tech provider, so can help the company to reduce the cost. So the term is everything as service. The software as service, software platform as service, infrastructure as service, security as service. So company do not need to invest the big capital as the beginning. So everything is operation cost and you can turn off that service right away. So there is a roadmap, to deploy the technology over the time. And it's very important because it's always need the time for your organization, for your people to ramp up the knowledge. Some company, they got problem, they have very ambitious plan. They do kind of a big bang and it's a bit overload or it's very overload with the people to outsource technology. And it's come to kind of like the failure in the later phase. The people, resist with the technology change.
So is it a little bit like understanding it like if I want to have a healthier lifestyle, there's one option is I change my whole life tomorrow and most likely I fail. Or I said, okay, first I look at eating healthier. Then I start working out. Then I do certain things and look at my sleep. So it's more like breaking it down into more digestible kind of parts.
There is a best practice in the industry how to define the strategy for digital transformation. So when it's come to why the business is hesitant to invest into the digital technology, in the report from Vietnam government, they said that nearly 50% of the company, they tried to apply the new technology, but then they didn't see it benefit. So they stopped using it. So what was the problem there? So there could be many reasons, but one of the reasons could be when they deploy the system for the employees to use. So the employee is not able to adapt with that technology, but usually it takes time, but they will be able to adapt with the new technology. Second reason for their resistance is during the time using that software, that system. So there is always the need to enhance the system to feedback. And some business, they do not have the kind of like understand the digitalization is the journey. So they can decide to invest into one big software system. And then they do not invest for the maintenance cost. So it's important for the organization to have the awareness of the digitalization is a journey. So there should be the consistent strategy and implementation plan from the beginning to the end. And even when you are already have the kind of a high level of maturity of digitalization, we need to understand that the technology is outdated. Because after some time it may be short and long depend on its kind of technology. It's kind of like, you need to be ready to, even revisit your strategy. You be ready to invest again in the whole cycle of your business, to be up to date with technology to keep the, competitive advantage.
So for large MNCs, it's a global mandate. There are different budgets. There's different complexity. They have consultants and firms like you. But what about the more SMEs, the smaller businesses that still might do their accounting in a physical book, or they have that one computer where the password is written on the screen. How can they benefit from a digitalization, and is digital transformation different for SMEs?
The story that we can easily see in the market this day, that many companies, they invest to the digital technology in the kind of a bit ad hoc way. So for example, they can buy the accounting software, they can buy some software for some function, but they didn't come with kind of like the whole strategy for digitalization. They didn't aware like how the transformation will influence and transform business as a whole. So the practice is, when you are new with the technologies, it's not your core business. So when you are lacking of the resource, the competency to handle your digital agenda, so you should turn to the digital supplier to help you on that agenda. And there are different practices to have the company to deal with the digital agenda effectively. So it's quite popular that nowadays many companies, they want to focus on the revenue side first, right? So it's good, right? Because small medium business can invest into the digital marketing, digital sales channel, digital customer experience management. So it's kind of like fast return of the investment. And then in parallel, so they can have, incremental of the, investment for optimizing their operation via the digital.
And that's a typical maturity thing, right? A lot of large organizations at an optimization stage that save money versus smaller business. Nothing beats make money over save money. So it's a lot of times it's revenue generation before anything else.
So for small business, so it's a kind of like not really optimized, but they need to go to a bit, at the level that they are, already digitalize many functions, before they modernize and optimize.
I think an interesting example of this business model transformation is the automotive industry. Right? Where some of the newer players or more innovative players, they have certain functions as a service. Like Tesla, where you can have the autopilot, kind of you book it online later because it's already all built in. But that also means automotive companies need maybe as many software developers than mechanical engineers, and that might change the dynamics. So how do you deal with companies that are then caught in this, well, we are by heart, we are mechanical engineers, now we are a software company. Are we still the same company?
That's the quite interesting question and interesting case in the market. So we support many of our automotive customers. So in which we have two kind of offering. Many automotive manufacturer, they aware that the technology shift, right? So they want to build, they increase their in-house capacity of software development. So it's a kind of like core business, not non-core business as before. So we support them. Like one model is, so we can have kind of like BOT model, right? So we are experienced software provider. So we build completely the software center. We operate for them. So a few years, and then we transfer that center to them. So it kind of like the tactic or the strategy to reduce the risk at the beginning when you let's say buy the company, software company. So instead you ask supplier to build a team for you, operate, and then the transfer, and it gives the lead time for organization to adapt with that change. The second model is some company, they want to do it faster, right? They're willing to invest, right? So they asked to support to just only build and transfer. So we call this a model software factory. So they already have the production plant. So now they need to build very strong software factory because many components in the cars now driven by the software. So we can build the team for them. We deploy all of the tool process of software development, all of the practices. So we train the people and then we transfer the team to them right away. But we keep a part of our support to go along with their team in a few years.
It's really about a journey.
It's long journey.
I know. No journey is like the other, but what's a good timeline that companies have to keep in mind when they want to start a digital transformation project?
There is no fixed timeline, depend on the complexity. Yeah, so it depends on the emphasis of the company, the financial status, and the readiness of the organization. Because it depends on the maturity of the organization. When you are new, it's better for your organization to have time for the people to ramp up. So because the training and the support is important in the digitalization journey. So let's say you have the ambitious goal to transform the organization to a digital organization, right? So, and then your members, your employees is they show the resistance because the system is hard to do with them, right? That is some kind of like issue many organizations they face. So when your organization is still at the low level of maturity with the digital technology, let's plan for some time for them to ramping up the knowledge, and important always provide the training, the support, and the system enhancement.
We talked a lot about the journey. We talked about reasons. We talked about challenges. What's really in it for Vietnamese businesses? What are the so obvious benefits that they shouldn't or just can't wait anymore to digitalize even faster, even further?
Now it's important to realize that the customer experience change to different way. So it's kind of like no more the customer love to visit the store directly, right? So it's nowadays it's digital experience from customer. So therefore, if the business don't want to change to adapt with that customer expectation, they may lose the market, right? So, but how to be able to adapt with that, digital experience from customer? So you have to invest for digital capacity to be able to meet the customer expectation, not only via the digital sales channel, the digital marketing, but at the end, you need to understand the customer expectation, customer reference. So the important to invest for the data analytics, digital data analytics. So there is a kind of technology to collect the customer data when they interact with your business in different channels. And that data will be analyzed, and the way the customer expectation, it will support your business decision, right? To, whether or not to upgrade the product to meet with the customer expectation, or to expand your customer base, whether or not you can sell in that region, because the customer feedback is very important. So I mean, customer experience, digital customer experience is the key, and therefore, if business don't invest into the digital platform, digital capacity, is kind of like you will be the lagging behind. And the report from Vietnam government, they share the report from an international organization showing that in the last 2 years, the gaps between the market leader and the laggers is increasing dramatically. So like 5 years ago, it's just 2 times. Now it's 5 times between the market leader and the laggers behind. And that speed is increasing. But the good thing from my views in ASEAN region, so that in general between ASEAN countries like Vietnam, Thailand, Indonesia, Malaysia, Singapore, the majority of the SME still in the early stage of the digitalization. It means the space for improvement is still, the room is there, right? So who, run faster will take the competitive advantage. Yeah, and we have, importantly, in Vietnam, I believe that SME in Vietnam have the advantages to compete, in the region because of 2 things. So the first one is Vietnam have strong labor force of, digital expertise. Yeah, in like 20 years, we provide software and development services, outsourcing services for, customer around the world. We earn a lot of, revenue from that industry. But that labor force is, important foundation to support for the accelerating the digitalization in the country. The demand is there, like just how to match each other. The second thing is the strong support from Vietnam government. You know that the government, they already launched the national program to accelerating the digitalization in the country with the 3 pillars: digital economy, digital government, digital society. So that is quite ambitious program as a breakthrough solution for Vietnam to become the prosperous country. And they made very good, program that there is a guideline there. There is a fund to support small, medium business to do the transformation. So I think that advantages is something really important to have the business in Vietnam to accelerate in the digitalization in coming year. Expect more results to come. Yeah.
Excellent. Sounds like a very positive outlook. One question is about, there's a certain economic uncertainty out there. So many macro factors. One day, the World Bank says we're going into recession. The next day, it said, oh, we'll avoid it. Nobody knows, right?
Yeah.
Does it affect on how you should approach a digital project if you don't know where the economy is going?
That is quite interesting things, which is usually, we call it on the investment on the digital on the back-end side, on the operation side, to deal with the risk and the turbulence of the market this day, which is came from, macro for economic reason, or could be even the real, geopolitical environment, right? So the important is to switch from offline to online. So even with the operation side, right? In general, the on-way old mentality is important. So the people used to work in the way that they work offline. Yeah. And any, uncertainty, can impact to the operation. So the operation may be interrupted. And the loss is, unpredictable in such case. So therefore, it's important for organization to move to the model that they switch to online, so they can operate from anywhere at any time. And that's the way to move, but via the digitalization, via the digital technology.
Maybe one last topic to touch on before we wrap up is the labor market, right? We've seen a shortage of software engineers around the world.
Yeah.
Do you think that will be eased with the ascent of AI, because we don't need hardcore coders that many anymore? We need people that can describe a problem and AI can do it for us? Or is it still a booming and short-staffed industry, especially in Vietnam?
In fact, in the last few years, especially after COVID, so the labor market in IT industry, software industry is really competitive. So it's not only because the increase in demand in Vietnam, but because it's increasing demand globally. I mean, because the huge demand from customers around the world to switch from offline to online. To automate more process, to deal with the uncertainty in the market. So AI is a kind of like different part. So even if, it's very developed technology, so the demand for having the IT software engineer is still there, because there are like variety of demand that need the people to involve into coding, developing system. So I would say it's still competitive in the coming years.
Very last question. There's been that discussion globally that the biggest holder of IT budgets in the future will not be standard IT, it will be marketing. Do you see that trend that more and more customers are actually marketers, and are they ready to make IT decisions?
I agree that the budget keeper will not be, will no longer be the IT side. So it's now the digital transformation is a core business of, the organization. So therefore, the budget comes from the business side, not from IT side. The IT side will turn to more the service side. They will provide the implementation, and the operation side. But marketing may not dominate that, budget. But due to the fact that at this stage, when many organizations do not focus on optimizing the operation efficiency, they are attacking more on the front-end side. So on the customer side. So therefore, marketing is now have, a more important role in the driving the investment for the digitalization. But it's important on both sides, on the customer side and on the back-end side. for operation efficiency. So it will align broadly in the organization.
Are marketers in Vietnam ready to lead and make decisions in digital transformation?
I don't know, but the practice is not to have one stakeholder in the company to make the decision. So digitalization requires much broader alignment in the organization, because the input from every department, every business function in the company is very important for the designing phase, right? And later on, for the implementation phase, for the operation phase, their engagement is also important. Yeah. So the advice is not to put into one, department the ability to make the decision, because they are, in the flavor of, customer.
Thank you very much. So we learned today digitalization will happen one way or the other. So everybody has to decide, do they want to stay ahead of the pack or left behind? We learned that it's all about not just technology, but about the journey and how you get people on board throughout that entire journey.
Yeah.
And last but not least, we also talked about that one thing is the company thinking what they should do, but at the end of the day, it's also customer expectations that drive transformation of whole industries with or without one single company.
Yeah.
Thank you so much. That was TIionN, the managing director of LeucSoft Vietnam, here with us at Leadership Talks. Thank you very much, and talk about how the journey is going very soon.
Yeah, it's also my pleasure to join with you today in our conversation. It's really, really valuable conversation, and it's good to share with the community.
Thank you.
Thank you.